You walk into a room and nobody looks up. You speak and people talk over you. You share an idea and it's ignored until someone else says the exact same thing 10 minutes later and everyone loves it. This isn't bad luck. This isn't because you're not smart enough or successful enough. It's because you're invisible. Not physically invisible, socially invisible, psychologically dismissible, and it's costing you everything. Here's what nobody tells you. Presence isn't something you have. It's something you create through a single specific behavior. One behavior that separates people who command rooms from people who disappear in them. Machiavelli discovered this 500 years ago, watching the power dynamics of Italian courts. He saw that the most influential people weren't the loudest, weren't the most charming, weren't even the most intelligent. They had something else, something that made them magnetically unignorable. I'm about to show you exactly what that behavior is. But more than that, I'm going to show you the 7 presence principles that activate it. Once you understand these principles, you won't just be noticed. You'll be gravitational. People will orient themselves around you without knowing why. But I need to warn you, this changes how you're perceived permanently. You can't be invisible again after this. Most people will feel that shift coming and click away. Are you one of them? Or are you ready to become unignorable? Let me show you how invisible you actually are. Think about the last meeting you were in, the last social gathering, the last group conversation. How many times did someone interrupt you mid-sentence? How many times did you start to say something, then stop because you felt like nobody was really listening? How many times did your suggestion get ignored until someone with more presence repeated it and got credit? You thought it was about confidence, so you tried to be more confident. You thought it was about speaking louder, so you projected more. You thought it was about being more interesting, so you collected stories and achievements. None of it worked, because you were solving the wrong problem. Here's the truth they don't want you to know. Presence isn't created by what you add, it's created by what you subtract. Every time you try to be more, you become less. Every time you perform confidence, you signal insecurity. Every time you fight for attention, you prove you don't deserve it. You've been taught the exact opposite of what actually works. They told you to be enthusiastic, to participate, to contribute, to make yourself valuable by adding value. They lied, or they didn't know. The people with real presence, the ones who walk in and the energy shifts, who speak and everyone goes quiet, who suggest something and it happens, they're not doing more. They're doing one specific thing that creates a gravitational field around them. Machiavelli watched this pattern play out thousands of times. He saw men with brilliant ideas get ignored because they had no presence. He saw men with mediocre ideas change history because they had commanding presence. And he realized, presence is the multiplier on everything else. Without it, your intelligence doesn't matter, your work doesn't matter, your value doesn't matter. Because nobody's paying attention. You've been background noise your entire life. Not because you're boring, because you're breaking Machiavelli's presence law. You're violating the single behavioral principle that makes humans psychologically unable to ignore someone. I'm about to show you what that principle is and the 7 ways to activate it. But understand this, once you start using this, you can't be casual anymore. You can't be one of the guys. You can't blend in. Presence creates separation. Most people aren't willing to be separated. They'd rather be invisible and included than visible and elevated. Machiavelli's presence law has 1 core principle and 7 activation methods. Master the principle, apply the 7 methods, and you become psychologically magnetic. Let's build your presence. The core principle, energetic economy. The single behavior that makes you unignorable. You withhold your energy until it matters. Everyone else is leaking. They're leaking attention, leaking enthusiasm, leaking agreement, leaking presence. They nod at everything. They laugh at mediocre jokes. They contribute to every conversation. They're always on. And this makes them wallpaper. Because when everything is emphasized, nothing is. When you're always present, you're never actually present. Machiavelli wrote, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." But here's what he really meant. A ruler is selective about where he places his attention. He doesn't give it freely. He doesn't scatter it, he concentrates it, and when he finally directs it at you, you feel it. Because it's rare, because it's been withheld, because it's valuable. Here's the psychological principle. Humans assign value based on scarcity. The person who laughs at everything has a worthless laugh. The person who rarely laughs, when they do, everyone notices. The person who agrees with everything has a worthless opinion. The person who rarely agrees, when they do, it carries weight. You've been taught to be generous with your energy. This makes your energy worthless. Here's how you use this. Starting tomorrow, track your energy output. How many times do you nod? How many times do you agree? How many times do you laugh? How many times do you contribute? You're going to cut that by 70%. Not out of rudeness, out of selectivity. Your attention, your agreement, your enthusiasm, your contribution, these are currency. Stop handing them out for free. Someone tells a joke, mediocre joke, everyone laughs, you don't. Not a mean face, neutral. Later, someone says something genuinely brilliant. You smile, that smile is now worth something. You just created presence through withholding. Someone presents an idea, everyone nods along. You stay still. Later you say that could work. Those 3 words just carried more weight than everyone else's 10 minutes of agreement. But here's the cost. People will think you're cold, standoffish, judgmental. They'll say you've changed. What they mean is, you're not giving them the easy validation they're used to. They want your approval because approval is free. When you make it scarce, it becomes expensive. The weak person needs to be liked by everyone. The magnetic person needs to be valued by the few that matter. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My energy is valuable. Principle 1. Calculated stillness. Stop moving. Literally, your body is betraying you. Watch an invisible person. They fidget, they adjust, they shift, they nod, they gesture, they're in constant motion. This signals anxiety, uncertainty, need for approval. Now watch someone with presence. They're still, not frozen, controlled. Every movement is intentional. When they do move, it means something. Machiavelli observed, men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see you, but few can come in touch with you. What he meant, people read your body before they hear your words. If your body is chaotic, your words are dismissed. If your body is controlled, your words carry authority. Here's the psychological truth. Movement equals energy expenditure. When you're constantly moving, you're signaling that you have energy to waste. This makes you seem low value. High value people conserve energy. They're still until action is required. Then they move decisively. This creates contrast. Contrast creates attention. Here's how you use this. Tomorrow, in every interaction, become aware of your body. Are you nodding? Stop unless you actually agree strongly. Are you fidgeting? Place your hands somewhere and leave them there. Are you leaning forward? Sit back. Create space. Are you mirroring the other person? Stop. Let them mirror you. When you speak, don't gesture wildly. Use one deliberate hand movement per point. When someone else speaks, don't nod along. Stay still. Maintain eye contact. Then, when they finish, pause before responding. That pause, that stillness, creates weight. They're now waiting for your reaction. You've created gravity through calculated stillness. But here's the price. This feels unnatural. Your body wants to move. It wants to release nervous energy. It wants to signal, I'm friendly, I'm agreeable, I'm not a threat. Resisting this feels like holding your breath. People might think you're bored or disinterested. Let them, because what you're actually doing is forcing them to wonder what you're thinking. And wondering is the first stage of being drawn in. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Stillness is power. But here's where it gets dark. The first 2 principles create physical presence. This next principle creates psychological presence, the kind that lingers after you leave. Principle 2, the pause of power. When someone finishes speaking, wait. 3 seconds. Every time. Everyone else responds immediately. Someone speaks and the next person jumps in with their response or their story or their opinion. It's a conversational relay race, and you've been running it your whole life. Stop. When someone finishes speaking, let the silence sit. 3 full seconds. Count them. 1, 2, 3, then respond. Machiavelli wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." The pause makes you both. It's the fox observing before acting. It's the lion making others wait for your response. It's psychological dominance disguised as contemplation. Here's the psychological principle. Silence creates vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you create silence, other people feel compelled to fill it. But if you hold the silence, if you own it, something shifts. The silence becomes yours. You're not in the conversation, you're above it. You're the one deciding when it continues. Here's how you use this. Starting tomorrow, practice the 3-second pause. Someone asks you a question, pause. Count to 3, then answer. Someone makes a statement, pause. Let it hang, then respond. This does multiple things. First, it forces you to actually think instead of reacting. Second, it makes your words seem more considered. Third, it creates tension, and tension is magnetic. Watch what happens in meetings. Someone pitches an idea. Everyone immediately starts discussing it. You stay silent. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 7 seconds. Then you speak. I see 3 problems with that. Everyone stops because you made them wait. Your words now have weight that everyone else's rapid-fire responses don't have. You didn't change what you said. You changed when you said it. But here's the cost. This makes conversations slower. People might think you're slow to process. They might try to move on before you respond. Let them. Then speak anyway. Interrupt if you have to. Because you've created anticipation, your interruption is forgiven. The weak person responds instantly to prove they're quick. The magnetic person responds deliberately to prove they're considered. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I own the silence. Principle 3. Selective engagement. What I'm about to tell you next will make you seem arrogant. Good. Most conversations are noise, gossip, complaints, small talk, status games. You've been participating in all of it because you think that's what social people do. You're wrong. Magnetic people don't participate in everything. They participate in what matters and ghost the rest. Not rudely. They're just not there. Their energy is elsewhere. And this makes people want their energy more. Machiavelli advised princes, it is necessary for a prince to possess the friendship of the people. Otherwise, he has no recourse in times of adversity. But here's what this actually means. Be selective about whose friendship you cultivate. The prince who tries to be friends with everyone is friends with no one. The prince who selects carefully creates loyal alliances. Applied socially, engage deeply with important people and topics. Barely register the rest. Here's the psychological truth. Humans want what they can't have. When you engage with everything and everyone equally, you're available. Available is worthless. When you're selective, when you clearly choose certain topics, certain people, certain moments to engage with, you create scarcity. And scarcity creates desire. Here's how you use this. Tomorrow, in any group setting, practice selective engagement. There's gossip happening. Don't engage. Not with disapproval, with disinterest. Your energy simply isn't there. Someone changes the subject to something meaningful. You lean in, you ask questions, you contribute, you're fully present. Then it shifts back to noise. You lean back, phone out, or looking around, or just checked out. This creates a pattern. People start to notice they only engage when it's important. This makes you seem discerning, intelligent, above petty things, and it makes people want to talk about things you care about because that's when you're present. You've trained the room to cater to your interests without saying a word. But here's the cost. You'll miss out on bonding. Small talk and gossip are social glue. When you opt out, you sacrifice casual intimacy. People won't feel like they know you. They'll respect you, but they might not like you. The weak person wants to be liked through accessibility. The magnetic person wants to be valued through selectivity. You can't have both. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I engage with purpose. Principle 4. The economy of words. Talk less. When you do talk, make every word count. You over-explain, you overshare, you tell the whole story when the punchline would do. You answer questions with paragraphs when a sentence would suffice. This isn't being helpful, it's being verbose, and verbose people are forgettable. The magnetic person speaks in memorable bursts, short, precise, leaving you wanting more. Machiavelli wrote, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." Applied to communication, every word you add is a risk. Risk of boring people, risk of revealing too much, risk of diluting your message. The person who speaks less takes less risk. When they do speak, it's calculated, it's concentrated, it's memorable. Here's the psychological principle. The human brain remembers edges and contrasts. A long speech blurs into background noise. A short, punchy statement stands out. I think we should reconsider this approach because of several factors, including timing, resources, and strategic alignment, and nobody remembers that. This won't work. Everyone remembers that. Same message. One is forgettable. One is presence. Here's how you use this. Starting tomorrow, cut your words in half. Not by speaking faster, by saying less. Someone asks your opinion. Don't give them the full analysis. Give them the conclusion. I'm not convinced. That's it. If they want more, they'll ask. Now you're not volunteering information. You're being consulted. See the shift? You went from explainer to authority just by subtracting words. In meetings, practice one-sentence contributions. That assumption is flawed. Don't elaborate unless asked. In social settings, tell stories in 3 sentences. Set up, twist, punchline. Stop. Let them ask for details. When you make people pull information from you instead of pushing it at them, you create conversational gravity. But here's the cost. People will think you're withholding. They'll say you're not a team player, not collaborative, not open. What they mean is, you're not doing their thinking for them. You're not making it easy. The weak person over-explains to be helpful. The magnetic person under-explains to be intriguing. You can't be both helpful and magnetic. Choose. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Less words, more weight. This next principle is where most people break, because it requires becoming comfortable with something everyone fears. Principle 5. Embrace negative space. You need to be okay with people not liking you. Not just okay, unbothered. Right now when someone doesn't warm to you, you try harder. You smile more. You contribute more. You try to win them over. This is repellent. It signals, I need your approval. And need is the opposite of presence. The magnetic person doesn't chase. They don't try to win everyone. They're completely comfortable being disliked by people who don't matter. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But the deeper truth, it's better to be indifferent to being loved. When you need love, you're controllable. When you're indifferent to it, you're magnetic. People sense this. They sense that you don't need them. And perversely, this makes them want you more. Here's the psychological principle. Humans are wired to pursue what retreats and retreat from what pursues. This is biological. The person who chases is prey behavior. The person who's indifferent is predator behavior. We're drawn to predator energy even when we don't know why. Your neediness is making you invisible. Your indifference will make you unignorable. Here's how you use this. Tomorrow, when you meet someone and they're cold or uninterested, don't try to warm them up. Match their energy. They're distant? Be distant. They're dismissive? Be neutral. Not mean, just unbothered. What happens? They usually come around. Because you didn't chase, you didn't need their approval. This confuses their social expectations. Confused is the first step to intrigued. In groups, when someone clearly doesn't like you, don't engage with them. Don't avoid them either. That's still being controlled by them. Just don't register them as important. Your energy goes to people who reciprocate. This creates a status dynamic. The people you engage with feel elevated. The people you don't feel less important. You've created a social hierarchy through attention allocation. But here's the cost. Loneliness. When you stop chasing people who don't naturally gravitate to you, your social circle shrinks. You'll have fewer friends, but deeper connections. You'll be invited to less, but valued more. The weak person collects acquaintances. The magnetic person cultivates alliances. It's a trade. Most people aren't willing to make it. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I don't chase validation. Principle 6. The anchor of certainty. Speak with absolute conviction, even when you're not absolutely certain. You hedge, you qualify, you say I think and maybe and it's just my opinion. You do this to protect yourself. If you're wrong, you weren't really committed, but this makes you sound uncertain, and uncertain people are invisible. The magnetic person speaks with certainty, not arrogance, certainty. They state things as if they're obvious, as if disagreeing would be absurd. Machiavelli observed, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." Translation: flexibility with truth is fine, but inflexibility with conviction is essential. When you speak, speak as if you're revealing truth, not offering opinion. This makes people believe you even when you're wrong. Here's the psychological principle. Certainty is contagious. When you speak with absolute conviction, you transfer that certainty to others. They don't evaluate your claim, they absorb your confidence. This is why conspiracy theorists are believed, not because their arguments are good, because they speak with unshakable certainty. You can use this ethically by being certain about things that are actually true. Here's how you use this. Starting tomorrow, remove hedge words. Never say "I think," just state it. This is the right approach. Not "I think this might be the right approach." Never say "maybe." Say "this will happen" or "this won't happen," not "this might happen." You're not becoming dishonest, you're becoming decisive. In discussions, when you make a point, end with a period, not a question. This is a bad investment. Not "this seems like maybe not a great investment." Voice goes down at the end, not up. Downward inflection signals certainty. Upward inflection signals seeking approval. This tiny vocal adjustment changes everything. But here's the cost. When you're wrong, you're really wrong. No hedging to fall back on. You stated something with certainty and it was false. Your credibility takes a bigger hit. The weak person hedges to protect ego. The magnetic person commits to protect presence. Sometimes you'll be wrong. The trade-off is, when you're right, people remember. When you hedge, nobody remembers anything. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I speak with Principle 7. The void exit. Leave before they want you to. Always. You overstay. Every conversation, every meeting, every social gathering. You're still there when energy is dropping, when people are checking phones, when the moment has passed. You do this because leaving feels like rejection. But staying too long makes you forgettable. The magnetic person exits at the peak, while people still want more. Machiavelli wrote, "Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times." Applied here, the time changes from arrival to peak to decline. Most people don't sense this shift. They arrive, stay through all three phases, and wonder why they're not remembered. The magnetic person feels the peak and exits immediately, before the decline. Here's how you use this. Tomorrow, at any social event, set a timer, 70 minutes. When it goes off, you leave. Even if it's going well, especially if it's going well. I have to go. No elaborate explanation, just exit. What happens? People remember you. They wonder where you went. They wish you'd stayed. You created incompleteness. Incompleteness creates memory. Same with conversations. When you sense a conversation has peaked, when you've hit the best story or the best laugh, end it within 2 minutes. I need to get going, but this was great. Exit while they're still enjoying talking to you. Now you're not someone they talked to until they got bored. You're someone they wish they could have talked to longer. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I leave at the peak. So where are you right now? Be honest. Not where you pretend to be, where you actually are. When you walk into a room, do people notice? When you speak, do people stop talking? When you leave, do people wonder where you went? Or are you there but not really? Present but dismissible? Talking but not heard? Most people, maybe 99%, are energetically leaking. They're nodding at everything, agreeing with everyone, contributing to every conversation, trying to be liked by all. And this makes them invisible. Because when you're everything to everyone, you're nothing to anyone. Here's the gap. You think you're building presence by being more engaged, more friendly, more available, more contributory. But presence isn't additive, it's subtractive. Every time you nod unnecessarily, you reduce your value. Every time you agree automatically, you dilute your opinion. Every time you contribute to noise, you become noise. You're about to become something different. Not just someone who's noticed, someone who's gravitational. The person who withholds energy until it matters, who moves with calculated stillness, who owns silence, who engages selectively, who speaks precisely, who's unbothered by dislike, who radiates certainty, who exits at the peak. That person doesn't just have presence, that person is presence. Machiavelli wasn't born with commanding presence. He built it through observation and discipline, through understanding that humans respond to scarcity, to control, to certainty, to mystery. You can do the same, but you have to choose, right now. Because once you start applying these principles, you can't be invisible anymore. You can't be one of the crowd. You can't be comfortable background noise. You become figure, not ground. You become signal, not static. And this creates distance. You'll be valued more but liked less, respected more but included less, noticed more but understood less. This is the transformation, from leaking energy to containing it, from seeking approval to radiating certainty, from trying to be noticed to being impossible to ignore. The person you are right now, agreeable, available, trying hard, that person has to die. And in their place, someone with magnetic presence, someone unignorable. Are you ready to become that person? Because most aren't. They're too attached to being liked, to being included, to being one of the group. They'd rather be comfortable and invisible than elevated and separated. Here's what happens next. 3 choices. Only one creates presence. Choice 1. You close this video. Go back to nodding at everything, agreeing with everyone, contributing to every conversation, trying to be liked by all. Tomorrow you walk into a room, nobody looks up. You speak, people talk over you. You share an idea, it's ignored. You spend the rest of your life wondering why some people command rooms while you disappear in them. Most people choose this. It's comfortable, familiar, invisible, safe. Choice 2. You think, wow, this makes so much sense. I should do this. You save the video. Maybe you share it. Then tomorrow comes. Someone tells a mediocre joke. You laugh anyway. Someone finishes talking. You respond immediately. Someone asks your opinion. You over-explain. You understood the principles intellectually, but you didn't install them behaviorally. Understanding without application is worthless. You feel smart for knowing, but you stay exactly as invisible as before. Choice 3. You decide right now, this exact moment, that you're building presence. Tomorrow you practice one principle, just one. The 3-second pause. Every conversation, every interaction, someone speaks, you pause. 3 seconds, then respond. You do this every single day for a week until it's automatic. Then you add principle 2, then 3. One at a time. You build presence the way you build muscle, through consistent, deliberate practice. But here's what choice 3 actually requires. You have to sacrifice being liked. The nodding, the agreeing, the over-contributing, the trying hard, all of that was buying approval. When you stop, the approval stops. People will say you've changed, you're different, you're cold. What they mean is, you're not giving them the easy validation they're used to. You're not playing the game anymore. Which choice are you making? If you're choice 3, prove it. Subscribe to this channel right now, because this video is the foundation. There are presence techniques I can't discuss publicly, the advanced applications of energetic economy, the dark psychology of commanding attention, the specific body language patterns that create magnetism. The algorithm suppresses this information. YouTube has limits on what can be said openly. Behind the join button is where the real presence education lives, the techniques that make you not just noticeable but unavoidable. The patterns that create charisma so strong it's uncomfortable. Most won't join. They'll stay at surface level, learning enough to understand but not enough to transform. But if you're serious, if you've recognized that every moment you're invisible is a moment of wasted potential, you know what to do. Final affirmation. Say it out loud. Put it in the comments. Make it real. I am unignorable. Presence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build through behavioral discipline, one principle at a time, one interaction at a time, until the person who used to disappear in rooms becomes the person rooms orient around. The choice is yours. It's always been yours. Most people just never realized they had one. Now you do. Choose to be seen.